So hello, first 20 participants are already here. We wait for some minutes to get a greater audience for today's webcast. So better give me a sign because it's 24, 25 in the moment. I think the audience, the participants should be a higher group. Okay. So then let's start it. Hello and welcome to our next Trend Radar webcast. Today's session is about the regulatory and political megatrend that means fraud by GenAI in the financial sector industry. And so let's kick it off. I have two speakers today on my side. That's Peter Schatt and Julian Ursic. So maybe we can switch to the next slide where we have some organizational parts on it. This webcast, as you know in the past, and as you can see on top, there's a sign this webcast will be recorded. You can ask questions. They are anonymously, so you can ask them, but you can also use your name during the presentation. And normally we will collect them and answer them at the end. But if it fits and if we see it properly, we try to mix it in between. So that makes me maybe more a conversation than a presentation. Okay, that's the organizational part. And then we can start to introduce ourselves. On the next page, please. So my name as a moderator is Tilman Bolze, and we had the idea since years before to do this and to start a trend radar and trend management in this area. And today, our topic is fraud by GenAI, and I'm happy to have two of my colleagues with me. The one is Peter Schatt, a partner in risk advisory, and the other is Julian Ursic, a senior manager in risk advisory. Both will give you some insights later on, but first I would like to hand over to Peter to introduce himself and give us some insights about his profession in this area.
Thanks, Tilman. Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Schatt. I'm based in Munich office at Deloitte. I'm the leader of the offering financial crime at Risk Advisory, and what is also very important, the RegTech Center of Excellence, what we have developed 7 years ago. My experience is about 20 years and more in the processes in the financial area, governance and compliance area. And now, as you know, the GenAI is one of our more focused points at the moment. And this is what we do also in the RegTech Center. And I'm coming later in this session to show you what we're doing in the RegTech Center. And I hand over to Julian.
Thank you, Tilman, and thank you, Peter. My name is Julian Ursic, and I'm delighted to welcome you all here today. Furthermore, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak on the topic of fraud and misuse of generative AI in the financial service sector. To me personally, I've worked in the national and international banking sector for over 20 years, with over 10 years dedicated to anti-money laundering efforts in the role of deputy and money laundering reporting officer, including fraud prevention. For the past 2 years, I have been working as a senior manager with Deloitte in Düsseldorf in the field of risk advisory, financial crime. Tilman, over to you.
Thanks a lot. So I just was scrolling through the attendees to see if I should ask if German or English. If there's no one complaining, we would go on today with the English version. But yeah, so then let's start it again. So as at the beginning of the first words, I try to say what's the topic of today. It's about a combination of two, I would say, signal trends. It is the GenAI, the things about all the stuff of ChatGPT, of all these computer advantages we have. And that's the opportunity, of course. And we have on the other hand side the topic of fraud. So that's a combination of both fraud by GenAI and the financial sector. And fraud by GenAI refers to the potential misuse of advanced AI technologies like deep learning and artificial intelligence to create synthetic media such as images, videos, audio that are increasingly, and that's a complicated word, indistinguishable from the real ones. Which means what's the original, what's the copy? We can't see that these technologies are so perfect in the moment. We can't see or decide what's original, what's the copy. So, and this could be used to perpetrate fraud. Therefore, banks and other financial institutions need to be aware of this topic because fraudulent claims could cost them significant financial losses. Additionally, this kind of sophisticated fraud can erode customer trust and damage the reputation of the institution. This trend, therefore, is critical for banks as they often invest themselves heavily in AI technologies for improving their processes. That means customer services, credit scoring, risk assessments. Being aware of the potential misuse of their own technologies is equal to important for maintaining their security measures. As for its becoming mainstream, it's hard to define a clear timeline. So, but we will see in the next minutes, and everybody can decide themselves if it's already mainstream. However, as AI technologies are rapidly advancing, we are likely to see an increase of fraudulent activities exploiting these technologies. This calls for robust law enforcement and legal frameworks, and as well advanced anti-fraud technologies to deter such misuse and safeguard the financial institutions from potential threats. This was the overall introduction, what it's about today. And hopefully I will hand over to Julian to start and to show us the topics of today's agenda.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tilman. Yeah, as you mentioned before, everyone has heard about generative artificial intelligence in the hype of the recent years. And everyone wants to optimize their daily lives, whether personally or professionally with GenAI. Unfortunately, there are also some dark sides to it that I would like to discuss with you today. Here you see the agenda of today, and we would be covering 6 topics. And they include, first, tracing the historical progression of legal foundations relevant to AI. Second, highlighting the potential risk associated with the misuse of AI, as you mentioned before. Then, very amazing, illustrating how software can detect deepfakes using an example specifically generated for this webcast in collaboration, kindly support with the US company Reality Defender. Then I will relieve certain facts and data related to the misuse of an GenAI. And then Peter Schad will introduce you to our 5 pillars of RegTech Center of Excellence as part of the financial crime offering. Last but not least, we will gaze into the future and deliberate on considerations that need attention to protect yourself and the company from fraud scenarios related to generative AI. Again, I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to converse on this significant topic today. And honestly, I hope this discussion would enlighten you with fresh insights. Here's wishing you a highly engaging brief and insightful event. I will jump to the next slide. Yeah, and here's the legal development in the recent years on the first slide, and you can see a time beam, which shows you an overview about the development in the last 4.5 years. Yeah, and you see with the increasing occurrence of AI-powered fraud, countries are now taking proactive measures to introduce regulations and aimed at protecting both business and also individuals from the potentially harmful effects of AI, including the negative impacts of deepfakes. You can recognize here clearly that the regulation of deepfakes and AI in general is still in its early stages. The reason for this is very simple. Deepfakes are clearly an example of dual-use technology, capable of being used for both positive and negative purposes. So, therefore, every regulatory approach should not only seek to strike a balance between regulation and technology innovation, but also between restriction and freedom of speech. The EU has developed various guidelines and approaches to address the issue of deepfakes, including scientific engagement with the so-called future law. However, the EU still lacks unified approach, specifically targeting the regulation of deepfakes. And similar to what China and US has already implemented. The EU's proactive and comprehensive approach to dealing with deepfakes has been documented in a report by the European Parliament. Of particular note is the EU's attempt to regulate deepfakes through the EU AI Act. While this law does not expressly prohibit the use of deepfake technologies, it imposes transparency obligations on the creators of deepfake contents. For example, according to the Article 55, paragraph 3, users of an AI system that generates or manipulates images, audios, or video content, resampling existing persons, objects, places, or events to a significant extent, and would incorrectly appear authentic or truthful to a person, must disclose that the content has been artificially created. It is important to note, however, that the EU AI Act is still not approved, but it is very likely that it should be approved by the end of this year and be enforced only by the end of 2025. So that is a short overview regarding the EU regulations and the approach. But on the next slide, I want to give you an overview regarding the downsides of generative AI. And let's talk about it in general. If you take a look to the left side above regarding fake news, in the last years, we all have observed the abuse of misinformation, seen in attempts at manipulating elections or influencing public opinion during situations like the Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. And consequently, it's become crucial for media, entities, and governments alike to constantly issue clarifications and deliver accurate information. The next topic, and I will provide you an example, is discrimination of generative AI. AI models can primarily cause harm to women and marginalized groups through statistical discrimination, or reinforce and affirm stereotypes and prejudice or cliché. For example, generated images typically display people who conform to Western beauty standards. For example, young European-looking women with fair skin and long hair. And even Black people are typically portrayed with lighter skin than the case is in reality. Generated images of people from emerging countries often convey stereotypes from a Western perspective. So the next topic regarding fraud, this is our main topic today, but here in general, criminals are now also utilizing artificial intelligence to mimic voices that are familiar to their victims. The voices are being replicated with the highest quality for purposes such as authorized tooth payments fraud. And this is done in order to manipulate family members and force them to transfer money. And if you remember the shock calls, you have heard about it in the media, this makes the shock calls even more sneaky, and a new form of crime is evolving very fast. Let's jump to the topic of data privacy. Data of private nature or data of public nature, AI does not make a distinction between the two. Private data seems to be more valuable, but is not sufficiently protected when using AI. And of course, local deviations of individual countries are also not taken into account correctly because the internet knows no national borders. Questions on topics such as intellectual property are also not adequately addressed. So let's jump to the question of sources. It's also a very important topic. When using AI, one always has to question the source from which, for example, an answer to a question or an evaluation was derived. Were the sources real or manipulated? Is the AI response based on something real that we can trust, or is it based on so-called hallucination? Have you heard about hallucination? Let's jump to it. Hallucination in artificial intelligence is referred to as a phenomenon when AI generates information that doesn't exist in its training data, for example. To explain this in more detail, let's take an easy example. Imagine a generative AI that's trained or to paint pictures of cats, for example. The AI is given thousands of cat images to learn from the constructs a model to create new cat images based on this learned knowledge. Usually, the AI generates images that resemble the ones used in the training. But sometimes the AI has hallucinated things that it has learned incorrectly. For example, if all the cats in the training database were white, the AI might incorrectly learn that all cats are white. So when you tell the AI to paint a black cat afterward, it gets confused and might paint cats that looks more gray than black. And that is a kind of hallucination that AI generating incorrect information based on misunderstanding or gaps in the training data set. So I think we cannot trust AI always. Let's talk about other topics like job insecurities. Various studies from US and also Asia have shown that job insecurities increase when artificial intelligence, such as robots or other intelligence, is in use in the workplace. This is a risk or a downside as well. And then, last but not least, manipulations of real texts or audio files, images, or videos has become extremely easy due to AI. For example, by merging two real human faces, as Peter and me, a new face can be created, which can then be used for fraudulent purposes. And this process is referred to face swapping. So these are an overview of the downside of GenAI. And on the next slide, as we are talking about the banking sector, of course, I will show you such applications examples in the everyday banking business. On the slides, you see the three examples related to deepfakes based on text, images, and video, and as well of audio, which can be exploited in the daily operations of a bank to trigger payments and other decisions manipulated by GenAI. On the left side, AI-generated text can be used, for example, to forge and impersonate a CEO or a fake president. Emails, for example, business email compromised, which can be read in the same way as the CEO's original emails. These emails would be fully generated with AI, simple using some keywords. Just think at ChatGPT, as Tilman mentioned before. In the middle of the slide, you see images, and look at the fake photo above. It's very easy to see that this is artificial. Good applications create images that are very difficult to distinguish from reality and can be used to deceive identities. And then, if you ever received an anonymous call from Europol or Interpol, maybe you remember, why should Europol call you? Please keep in mind that the next time you get a call like this and feel inclined to use your voice, that it could be an attempt to record your voice, commit fraud. So we will make a deep dive later, but I know we are talking about the banking sector. I would like to mention the possibilities of insurance fraud here as well, because it's important. I just want to show you two examples here, which show a manipulated image of a cell or mobile phone, which seems to be broken, that is not defective in reality. And the manipulation of images and the recreation of objects, such as the diamond bracelet, including a certificate of authenticity. Anything to get the insurance company to pay out. So let's make a deep dive in different scenarios related to the banking sector in the daily business. First, phishing and spear phishing attacks associated with authorized push payments fraud have always been a problem since years. Now, it's becoming even more problematic as criminals are using large language models to write texts that are hardly distinguishable from human written texts, leading to the desired manipulation of the victim. Second, let's talk about the topic of video identification. And I bring with you an example from my own experience. Recently, I opened a joint account, and after being verified through video identification, all my wife had to do was upload a photo. Granted, it was a real one, but I can't rule out the possibility that she could have also verified herself with a deepfake photo. And on the right side, the third example, in the context of imitated and artificially generated voices, just a few seconds are enough to generate new text with the same voice. Granted, the more data you have, the higher the quality, but the technology is evolving very rapidly, and increasingly less data is needed to ensure good deepfake quality. You have now listened to a few minutes of my voice, and you also see me here presenting. The voice and I are perfectly synchronized. Do you actually believe I'm real? I promise I am. However, the following example is also authentic. You are now hearing my voice and you are seeing a video recording of software from the US company Reality Defender. And as I mentioned before, Reality Defender is specialized in identifying deepfakes of any kind and is capable of scanning text, images, audio, and videos for authenticity. So I hope on the next slide, we can start a quote with starting with a quote of Ben Coleman. He's the CEO and the co-founder. And he said, building trust when you can't trust what is real. And now I will play the video. I hope you can hear the sound. Please give me a sign if not.
Hi there, it's Julian. My account number is 298379193. I would like to recall my payment of $1 million to Reality Defender.
So what you have heard is a digital copy of my own voice. And you have seen a deepfake detection platform from Reality Defender. The figures you have seen here are so-called confidence score, which shows you the probability of an audio file which is falsified. And it's departed. You see 6 second sections here. And this is intended to also recognize interim real recordings and to include the probability calculation. Okay, I will switch to the next slide. And this is also very important here because you need to know how deepfake detection would work. In today's presentation, we highlighted important aspects of deepfake detection technology, and you have seen several possibilities to connect with your systems. For example, API connection, ability to run the software either via a web application or to run it via API. This means directly integrating in the existing systems. Then we have the opportunity to act on a cloud basis. Cloud basis either run the software on-prem, on the own servers, or in a cloud environment. Additionally, you have the opportunity of a seamless integration. That means that the software is directly integrated into the existing platform and services, and this way increase the overall efficiency. The last point, since it is a new market and new products, we want to provide you with a strong benchmark for guidance and evaluation. Strong benchmark stats which correlate with each other like a triangle. First, accuracy, second, precision, and third, recall. Stats used to determine the strengths of AI models are well above 90% for market-leading deepfake detection models. Okay, the next slide. Maybe if you believe the threat isn't significant enough to address the risk of GenAI, I'd like to present this slide where I aim to focus on 3 key aspects of the development. On the left side above, you will see the pie chart illustrating that Germany accounts for 12.10% of deepfake attacks, placing it among the top 3 countries in Europe, along with Spain and UK. The trend is continuing to rise. I'd like to add that in particular in the prevention and reporting of fraud attacks in the banking sector, such as authorized post payments fraud. UK is significantly ahead of Germany in terms of education and also countermeasures. The reason is simple. UK, for example, was already a primary recipient of fraudulent payments over 15 years ago. And UK banks often have accounts for financial agent and also money new accounts. Therefore, UK began implementing countermeasures much earlier than Germany did. Just think about, maybe you've heard about the Take 5 initiative. So on the right side, you will see the results from a survey of over 500 decision makers from companies in the EMEA region. A survey was conducted on issues with verifying customers' identity via the online channel. The top 7 categories are listed here, led by a theme of the rise of artificial identities, totaling 52%. While it's calming that our artificial identities have been recognized as such, it also highlights what we need to prepare for the future. The third one, at the bottom right graph, shows you the top 5 categories of identity fraud in 2023. And honestly, unsurprisingly, at the top spot, we have AI-powered, mainly deepfakes. Before we deepen into future prospects and develops to consider...
Julian, maybe ask a question?
Of course.
So there's 12% of the deepfake fraud in 23. What do you expect? Does the number of fraud is doubling from year to year now? So does it mean the number in Germany was maybe, I don't know any number, but maybe it is from 1 million to 2 million, or what is, because all the tools become more and more used. and better and better. So therefore, ask if it's
Yeah.
rapidly growing.
Yeah. Okay. Very good question, Tilman. From my point of view, the figures will increase, of course. I'm not sure if they will double, but they will increase because it's much more easier, and it will be much more easier for criminals to use this tool. And honestly, if the banking sectors or the private market will not protect and do not prepare for the future, the cases will increase, of course. Does this answer your question, or?
Yeah, just was my Befürchtung.
Okay. You are afraid of. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Yeah, again, before we deepen into the future, we will talk about what is Deloitte doing to build solutions and prevent the number from growing even larger. Now I'd like to hand over to our risk advisory, financial crime offering lead, Peter Schad, who will introduce you to our RegTech Center of Excellence. Peter, over to you.
Peter, you're muted.
Sorry, my fault. Thanks, Julian. Let me give you a short, brief insight into what we at Deloitte are doing with our RegTech Center to counter such dangers as deepfakes, as you mentioned before. We established the RegTech Center of Excellence 7 years ago with the intention of developing smart, innovative solutions. What you see here is the key focus area we have at the RegTech Center of Excellence. What is our main point, what we have in our RegTech Center? Our focus has always been to involve the clients throughout the entire development process of a solution. We call it design thinking workshop. Over the last few years, the RegTech Center of Excellence has evolved. Before the 7 years, we called it RegTech Lab. Now we have 2 years ago, we have changed to RegTech Center of Excellence. Let me highlight some of the key focuses of our RegTech Center of Excellence. With our trend scouting team. Our trend scouting team identifies and evaluates 3 things. The first thing is, which are the technologies in the next time, in the future? You heard a lot about GenAI. Yes, this is one what we know and what we are doing our assets to bring it out to the GenAI technology. Second point is which companies in our area, in our system have very keen solutions suites at the moment. For example, startups, middle companies, big companies. And the third point is which pains the clients have in the future. For example, in the last time it was about transaction monitoring, partner due diligence things, sanctions. They don't know if the company I work with is on the sanction list or not. They have to look about the sanction and to do due diligence about that. So that's what we are doing in the trend scouting team. We have the RegTech Lab and Sandboxing team, where we develop smart, innovative solutions. I come back later to that to give a little bit deep dive how we can do that. Let me give you a little bit about our data asset and transformation area. It's a very big and very important area for us because they are the solutions we have already been developed. As we have the VCU, virtual custom underwriting, is a asset we have developed which has a prize won in the area about is one of the 10 best global assets at the moment. We have, for example, the PayTracer. The PayTracer was developed with a large German bank about special transaction monitoring and identifying money laundering relevant transactions, for example. And all about is very important for us is the hub and ecosystems area, where we have a lot of cooperations partners in there. At the moment, we have 30 partners in our ecosystems, and we are still growing at the moment. You hear one of them is Reality Defender. It's one of our newest cooperation partner at the moment, where we develop some new solutions, assets for our clients. In the next slide, I will give you a short introduction now how we develop such solutions. We have, for example, we have heard about that what you, Julian, is presenting you, and we have our area. It's called RegTech Lab and Sandboxing, where we enable developer innovation smart solutions using the latest technology combining with regulatory expertise. Is that what the RegTech Center makes it? We are combining the technology and the regulatory expertise together and developing smart, innovative solutions. We discussed with our clients in a design thinking workshop the possible requirements for the necessary solution to address the current challenges for the clients. For this approach, we have developed a framework, you see it here in the slide, that initially identifies the client requirements based on the regulatory pains the client has. Due to the large number of solutions we have, you hear it, VCU, PageRacer, Fraud Fighter, all the things we have developed in the past, and our collaboration with our over 30 partners, cooperation partners we have, we are able to present use cases very quickly. This experience we have gained from 7 years at the RegTech Center, and our collaboration with our vendors is one of our main unique selling points we have in our RegTech Center of Excellence. The use cases will be adapted to the customer's requirements and then develop the individual solutions for the clients and integrated in the client's landscape. That's a very smart look from our side to show you how this process is being, and we can help our clients to get the right solutions with a smart, innovative solution to help them to regard their pains they have. Julian, can you give us a short outlook of the future, what is coming up next?
Yeah, of course, Peter. Thank you for providing the insight of our solutions we could provide. And on the next slides, I want to show you a short overview of the fraud landscape forecast. And what is important to consider here, the technology for forging media identities has significantly evolved the recent years, particularly driven by advanced in artificial intelligence. Current researchers suggest that this trend will continue, making manual detection of counterfeits increasingly difficult into the future, of course. And it is also expected that the amount of data required from the attacked person will steadily decrease. Technically savvy live people, as me, for example, are already capable for creating high-quality falsifications today. However, it is expected that the required expertise and effort for creating falsifications will continuously decrease due to the enhancement and increasing availability of public tools, thus potentially leading to a significant increase in attack using this technology. Technologies are becoming increasingly affordable and, above all, integrated into everyday life. Just think of the real-time translation of a mobile phone from a well-known company, for example, at a taxi office abroad, into the local language. And I think that the integration of AI into everyday life will be completely natural for the next generation, for my child, for example. And for this reason, it is of great importance that the countermeasures mentioned continue to be developed and used in combination after application-specific selection. So, thank you for listening for now. Now we have finished our presentation, and there's still time to answer some question if you have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Julian. I think there's some applause, of course. There is no open question at the moment, so maybe I give the audience a little bit of time to think for it, and maybe I would start with the first one. It is a very easy one maybe for you, but you are using this word deepfakes very often. So maybe you can give some more impression. What does it mean really, and give me maybe an example, maybe, so that everybody's on the same side.
Yeah, ich sag mal, sorry for switching in German. You want to know about deepfakes, or do you want to know how to protect?
No, I just want to have an example. So I start a deep fake. I think is a combination of words. Maybe you can can give us an example. What does that mean? As what we have said is it could happen with pictures, with all this stuff, but what does it mean? It is not a copy of something. It is more technical. What makes it a deep fake, not a fake?
Yeah. If we are talking about a deep fake, we are talking about new stuff which is completely new generated with using AI technology. You can prompt by keywords what you want to have. For example, if you want to see a picture of a mobile phone or of a face which you want to use for fraud, for identical fraud, for example, the GenAI tool will create it in seconds. Yeah, this is one example for, yeah.
Okay, and then the question from the audience comes exactly to this: is deepfake detection software currently already in use with any bank, or maybe corporation, but banks first, please?
Yeah, it is. It is really. For example, the audio detection module of Reality Defender is already in place with an international bank with headquarters in the US, and they have deployed their audio detection functionalities to supplement their call centers and to detect deepfake-enabled fraud with milliseconds.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Another question is misuse of AI. Any ideas of percentage if used for financial purposes, political use, misinformation, elections, and so on? And how are the group of frauditors type and geographies? Who's that? I think it's complicated things to analyze it, to find them.
Thank you. Response first to the first question. Of course, I have no completely overview of the percentages because we do not know it because there are no reporting all of it because there's a very in Germany we say Dunkelfeld, yeah, dark field. So we are not aware of. Nobody is. And what I think personally is that this frauds and the value of the frauds will increase rapidly in the next months and years. Yeah, and please could you repeat the second questions? I didn't get it.
The second was, who are the group of frauditors? I think you answered it already, maybe. And the first one, any ideas of percentages used for financial purposes or political and so on? What is the main direction of the frauditors? Who they are attacking?
It's clear. It's financial, of course, because the criminals want to receive a payout, and from my point of view, it's financial. But I have no clear facts or figures about that. But all reports you can see, and it's all also in the early stages, yeah, are mainly driven by financial fraud.
Okay. I would like to ask many questions more because I learned a lot of, but there's no one in the Q&A box. But if one, well, because of the time is over, but maybe you can go for a last question someone needs or wants. Okay. I see no one typing. So thank you very much to both of you, Julian and Peter. Thanks to the audience participating today in this topic. I think it is a topic that runs for the next years and becomes more and more important. So that's maybe a mainstream next day. So hope you don't get into the trap of this deepfake, anyone personally. And yeah, we see how the software and how the protectors, defenders will work. Yeah, and please show the last slide. And the next time we have another very interesting, urgent topic. That's instant payments. It's about paying not over blockchain and Bitcoin instantly, but also with the normal euros maybe in the future. What does it mean? How does it affect the FSI industry? What do we have to do? What are the requirements for this? It is, of course, starting, but it's a very important thing. So thanks for today for the major topic of fraud in GenAI and financial industry. And hope to see you next time with episode 4 for the instant payments. Have a good time and have a long Monday, long evening, a long weekend. So thank you all. Thank you for the presentation. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Too.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.